You're listening to Well Met, a Hearthstone podcast brought to you by BlizzPro.com.
Well met.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode, number 21 of Well Met. We're a Hearthstone podcast brought to you by BlizzPro.com, and that's right, we actually do have a very special show this week. We've got new cards to talk about. We've got awesome tournaments. We've got a very, very special guest been hanging out with for about the last 20 minutes. We can't stop talking, so really excited for that. But first, before we get into all the surprise and mystery, from Kansas City, we've got JR Cook. Hey, JR, how you doing, man?
Hey, John, it's good to be here. Can you believe we're up to episode 21?
21, we made it.
21. Like, the show is old enough to drink. I'm excited for that.
And rent a car, right? Is it 21, rent a car?
Who cares about that? I care about the drinking.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So we have a very special guest this week, and before we introduce him formally, I need to say something. I am very picky about the people we let on this show after listening to podcasts for years and years and all that kind of stuff. And when we had an opportunity to bring this guest on, it was like an immediate yes. We were super excited about it. We were a little bit nervous for ourselves because this person comes from a professional esports broadcasting background. But before I just keep rambling on, I'm going to actually let him talk. So you may know him from the renowned Hearthstone Pro League over at PvP Live. Incredible gamer, incredible commentator. It is the Tannon Grace. Hey, Tannon, welcome to Well Met.
Hey, thanks, John. Thanks, JR. It's nice to meet both of you guys. I'm really looking forward to this. Big fan of the show. And by the way, best intro of any podcast, hands down.
Yes, it's true. We worked really hard. So we do. We're really proud of our intro. All right, Tannon, just really lightly, so we get to know you a little bit. I mean, these guys have had about 21 weeks to get to know us. If we were going to get up to speed about you, what would you tell us?
Old school gamer, grew up in Louisiana, spent some time in Vegas. I started out playing card games at a young age, mostly Magic, became a professional Magic player, and then spent a lot of time also as a professional poker player. There was some small dabbling in other games, mostly FPSs. I was on like one of the original MLG circuits, but never really amounted to anything. There was not a lot of money in it back then. I mean, this was like 12 years ago. So, it's not like it is today. Mostly Halo and like some of the original Call of Duties. And then, about a year ago, Nathan got a hold of me. I'm sorry, that's Admirable, as everybody knows him.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah, he got a hold of me and he's like, you should try out this new game called Hearthstone. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And within the next week, I had, dropped hundreds of dollars, was like buying packs, playing Arena, like playing Constructed, just couldn't get enough of it. I was at the poker table, like on my tablet, playing Hearthstone instead of playing poker.
Wow.
That free to play.
Yeah.
Pretty free to play, right?
I blame
That's how they get you.
I blame the effective toilet time that you can have with Hearthstone. I mean, it just totally changes the amount of time that you get to play the game. You can't play poker really from there.
No,
maybe you can. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really funny when you your friend goes to the restroom at the office and then you see them sign on to their Blizzard account and you're like, I know what you're doing.
I am suddenly glad I'm not battle tag friends with any of my coworkers now. That's
so true. That's so true. Too funny. Well, again, thanks for being on the show, Tannon. We're really excited to have you. I can't wait to hear more about what you're doing over at PvP Live later in the show. But before we do, let's hop into end of the tournament or end of the ladder. We just finished up July. And how did it work for you guys? JR, how did your end of the season go?
Well, I had a rough start of the week because I went and bought the pre-purchase on Amazon, and I did it through my emulator thing, and it locked me out of my account for like 3 or 4 days, so I couldn't even play Hearthstone. But so you probably saw me whining about it a little bit on Twitter, stuff like that. But basically, the PC and phone client wasn't up to date like the Amazon client was. So if you tried to log in through those, it after you purchased, it was like freaking out and wouldn't let you log in. However, I was able to go up from rank 5 to rank 3, and that's where I ended.
Nice. Congrats, man. That's a huge turnaround. I know you were flirting with 7, go back to 5, back to 7, back to 5, and brought it all the way up to 3. So that's huge.
All the way up to 3. Yep.
Cool.
I was actually really happy with that because that's the highest I've been in quite some time. But holy cow, I don't think I want to play Hearthstone again.
That's rough. Tannon, what about you? What'd your month in Hearthstone look like?
I had the opposite end of the story, but similar to his, where I started out really hot and got all the way up to rank 1. And then I don't know what happened when I looked up and I was ranked 5. All of a sudden, I lost like 9 games in a row, and I got back down to like 2 or 3, and got really busy over the last few days and couldn't finish the push to legend. But we're gonna get there this month.
Nice.
Have
Well,
you
big
hit Legend
congrats.
before?
I actually haven't. I haven't spent enough time ever to get it. I'm usually, working a lot. So
That's
I
usually
get,
what it feels like with getting to Legend is you got to put in that time. If you don't have the time, it's difficult to get there.
yeah, I mean, you have to dedicate quite a bit of time. You have to put in a lot more games than I even realized. I thought it would just be, oh yeah, I'll just play for like 3 days and I'll get Legend. It doesn't work that way.
We were having a little conversation with Kevin on Twitter about the grind to Legend, and something we linked. There's a competitive Hearthstone link about how long it takes. It basically at what win rate does it take to get to Legend, and I believe it's at 56%. It's like 217 games to rank 5, and then that's halfway. So if you can
Jeez.
maintain 56% win rate, it's going to be about 450 games to Legend, which is just insane. That's a lot of games. I believe last month I played 185 overall.
Yeah.
And
I played around 250 or so myself.
I don't want to look at mine because it's probably embarrassing.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean it's a grind, man. It's just such a grind. There's so many good players who probably aren't getting Legend because they can't put in the time. And there are probably some bad players too who are getting Legend because supplemental income or mom. I call her mom, but other people call it supplemental income. Yeah, so okay. That was weird. So okay, well, good job on the ladders, guys. You guys did great. Ready to go jump?
So how'd you do,
Go
John?
jump right into the mood. Go
not
jump
saying
right
it
into the
yourself.
news. You can go right there into the
Trying to
news.
skip it?
Good go. Okay,
He
so
knows that there is a bet.
here's
Oh,
the
did
thing,
you
though.
lose? I knew about this bet.
I feel like you swindled me a little bit. I feel swindled by J.R. Cook, and I need to tell you why. So J.R. posts that he's stuck, he can't do it, he's done for the end of the season and stuff like that. So I slow down, right? I'm slowing down. I'm not playing as many games as I probably could. Instead, I started Naruto from scratch. I was all caught up on Shippuden. I'm like, I'm going to go back and watch Naruto. So doing that, hanging out with the girlfriend, and I ended up rank 5, and I was like, cool, rank 5, 4 stars. I beat JR, but at the same time, I'm not just rubbing it in his face. And then the day, like hours before the ladder ends, he posts he's all the way up to rank 3. So I feel swindled. I feel swindled. I call rematch. Because
all I got from that whole thing was the shameless plug of you having a girlfriend. That's the only thing I caught.
I do that every week. I need to remind the chat room. I don't. I wish I needed to remind the chat room. Yeah, so
To be fair, I did think I was done, and I was able to log in that final day, and I'm like, I'm just going to play and see where this goes.
You hustled me,
I was
dude.
not trying to screw
I got
you
hustled.
over.
I
I
call
was not trying to screw you over.
foul, sir. I call foul.
Just be a man and pay up whatever the
All
bet
right.
was.
But I will say I had fun doing that this month. Even I didn't care if I won or lost because having that push to try to get higher up in the rank really helped me this month on trying to make that push.
Sure.
So
Well,
I didn't care one way or the other.
I'm a man of my word. I'm not happy about it. I don't agree with it, but I'll go out. I'll get my Kansas City Royals stuff, and you will see me next week wearing it. But man, I feel hustled. I feel like I just went to the pool hall and got like taken, like, oh, no problem. And all of a sudden he ends up being a semi-pro. Anyways, let's go to the news.
This week in Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft.
So we had an incredibly busy week in Hearthstone. There's so much new stuff going out. Let's bring you up to speed on Well Met really quick. We're up now to well over half to our merch store goal. We've got a goal of 200. We're going to open up a merch store, hopefully get some shirts, other things up there for Well Met and stuff. So we're doing great there. Our new logo looks so awesome. I just stare at our stream vectors, and I've got like a nice 5K background of our logo and stuff like that I put on my computer. And I love it. It's beautiful. So we are super excited about that. And yeah, we are live as well. Thanks to our Patreon now. This is week 3 going live video, and we're joined by 67 other people right now, I see. So that's awesome. So thank you guys again for supporting. If you want to know more, go to patreon.com/wellmetpodcast. Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the new thing on that this month?
Yes, actually, why don't you go ahead and take that? We do have a new addition to our Patreon this month.
So for any patrons this month of August that donate $5 or more this month, you will be put into a drawing to win a free hour of coaching from the pro team Fade to Karma. And Fade to Karma has kind of teamed up with Blizz Pro. They write our deck of the week every week. They put out a pretty good meta report as well now over at HearthstonePlayers.com. They have some really good players. Their Gosu Gamers had them in number 7, I think, number 8 or 7 or 8. Anyway, they're in the top 10 teams in Hearthstone. They've had some players like Cypher that have gone on to win some fairly big tournaments. They have some really good up-and-coming players as well, and they're getting invited. They're a fairly new team. So anyway, I know the manager there, and we're pretty good friends. And he wanted to put out there that any of our listeners, if you want to put in $5 this month, free hour of coaching from one of their pro players. Yeah. So
Fade to Karma has actually really made a splash. They kind of came in and kind of took like those high, like tier 2 players, I guess, where like they weren't huge, but they've always done well. And Toyota, Cypher just had a huge win. Deathalore, Hawkeye as well. Vortex and Game King all have been doing insane work. So there's some of the best players in the world, and you can get a free hour coaching with them if you contribute 1 month to the $5 plus or more.
And the way
go to a drawing.
Yeah. Right. The way that we'll do that is if you donate $5 to our Patreon, you'll go into a drawing. All of those people will go in there, and then we'll draw one name, and then that winner gets the free hour of coaching.
Yep. And it can't be you, Tannon. Can't be you. Sorry. You don't need it.
I feel swindled now. I already given my $5.
Well, I feel swindled too. It's something that happens when you're around JR too much. You just start to feel swindled. So
remind me never to go play pool with him.
It's true. Don't do it. Or bowling. I hear he's a great bowler. Just kidding.
I'm not very good at that game.
I went bowling this last week. I actually did really well. Bowled about 150. Both games. Felt good.
Cool. Right. I probably would have beat you, and I've only bowled like 3 times in my life.
Oh my God, I hate you so much. You're the worst person ever. All right. So Tannon, we've gotten to get to know you a little bit more. But we want to know a little bit more about kind of PvP Live and Hearthstone Pro League and kind of what's going on with that. So, you've been doing some incredible things. The Hearthstone Pro League was probably one of the first 3 major leagues, probably the first one at least announced, definitely the first one that started.
You're number one.
In Hearthstone, $60,000 up at stake. Insane production value. You and That's Admiral will do an awesome job. It's totally ESPN. We love it. But what can you tell us? Tell us a little bit more about Hearthstone Pro League, PvP Live. I'll leave it open for you for a moment.
All right, so the biggest thing that I can say is it's not just Hearthstone. I mean, that's the first thing that's come out. But PvP Live is going to be, a major esports thing, and not just Hearthstone. I mean, right now they're doing Dota and League, and there's some other games coming along as well. So look for that if you're a fan of just esports in general, not just Hearthstone. And I mean, the amount of work and preparation that goes into anything in this business, in this organization, is unbelievable. I mean, the amount of stuff that we put into every show. I don't think I was ready for the amount of work, but it's very rewarding. I'm thankful every day that I have Admirable as my co-host. He definitely elevated my game and helped me out quite a bit going in because, I was a new guy on the block. Like a lot of people were like, who is this guy when I got the job? And, having him around made it a lot easier. Being more specific about HPL, we have 2 weeks left in the season. And if you've been watching all season long or you haven't even started watching yet and you're going to, it's the perfect time. It is utter chaos in the season right now. There's a couple of guys who are pretty much locked for the playoffs. There's about 1 to 3 guys. Every other spot is up for grabs. There's a ton of ties going on right now. And the next 2 episodes are special episodes. We're getting 4 matches instead of 3. So you're getting a little extra every night. And the playoff picture will be a little clearer after those 2 days specifically. So it's a lot of high intensity matches in the next couple of days.
Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely really started to heat up. I know it was really fun watching Zalay from Team Archon 2 weeks ago. Had a huge couple of weeks going, 5-6 wins in a row, right?
Yeah, I think I said it on the show too. He's quickly becoming and putting a stamp on as just what might possibly be like one of the best players in the world in the last week or two. I know he wasn't doing as well in the Archon League, but he had to kind of like step out of his comfort zone a little bit and play some decks that he hadn't been doing a lot of practice with, and that's where that guy really shines. If you put him with decks that he's put in the time, it's almost impossible to beat him. He's one of the best technical players in the entire world.
Absolutely. I've really enjoyed watching him play. Seems just like a really great guy, too. Just really nice, pretty humble.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. So, just a couple of highlights, right? The top 6 players in HPL right now are all within 2.5 games. So everything is really close right now. And what you said, there's 2 weeks left, right? And then we go into some sort of a playoff?
Yeah, there's 2 weeks left in the regular season, and then 3 to 4 weeks after that. We haven't nailed down the exact date yet because the venue is changing for the date. So once we get that nailed down, you'll know. But then there's a top 8 LAN playoff, so they're all going to actually come here. So if you guys are off that weekend, you should get a little plane ride down to Texas, and I'll put you guys up, and I'll even pay for your hotel room. Tell you what, you get down here, I'll pay for your hotel room for the weekend. But you guys should come in to watch. It's going to be insane. I mean, these guys are playing for $60,000.
What weekend is that?
It'll be about 6 weeks from now.
I'm in.
JR's checking right now. Look at this, man.
I'm looking at my calendar. I'm like, I might consider this.
Where
if it's
in
Labor
Texas
Day weekend, I won't be.
Is it which major city is it? Is it?
It's Dallas.
It's Dallas.
Just north
Okay.
of Dallas. Yeah. We're technically in Frisco.
Got it. I know some people in the Dallas area. I honestly, before any of this kind of transpired, I was thinking about it already. So
Ooh.
we're gonna just drive on down and hang out. That'd be awesome.
Distance, so
yeah, I can show you guys the studio and stuff. Get you a little tour. It'd be fun.
That'd be awesome. JR and I can go bowling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll watch. I'm not gonna get involved in that.
JR will win.
Yeah, JR will probably win. Yeah.
It probably will. I'll have bumpers. So PvP Live, guys, has been awesome. You can find it at pvplive.net. Again, you can't miss this league. If you're a fan of Hearthstone and competitive Hearthstone, this is not something that you should be missing out on. They're Monday through Thursday, starting at what time? It's
5:30 p.m.
5
Central.
Yeah, so 5:30 p.m. Central. Lots of Hearthstone. We
Yeah.
always need more Hearthstone, so it's been great. So kudos to you guys. PvP Live has been awesome to watch, and just from a community impact standpoint, you guys are doing huge things. So thanks for that.
Well, I want to say
Yeah.
thank you to all of y'all and all the people who do watch, because without you guys, I mean, we wouldn't even be a show. So that's the most important thing, is for us to say thank you to you guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Also in the tournament news, we did not have any ATLC this week, so stay tuned next week, and we'll go into that. But this one is a bit more of a fun one here. We actually had Challenge Stone number 3 this week. Now, they just announced this like 2 weeks ago, so it kind of came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it. But just finished up today, and pretty cool. Jerry, you want to tell us a little bit more about the challenge that we had this last week?
Yeah, so the challenge this time around was titled Right on Target. So the players had to only use spells that are able to target minions. So, like Dark Iron Dwarf, BGH, any spell, basically any card that requires you to target another card or hero. So that would be kind of fun to build stuff around, and that new mage card that we saw get revealed might be in on that. Would have been if they had been able to use the Grand Tournament, which isn't out yet. So the players were Jondo, Lothar, Noxious, Just Saying, Freshka, is it Niera? Is that
We say Nyria, but
Nyria? Stan, Sifka, and Forsen.
Yeah, so some huge names coming up. It's a great tournament. Always a fun time to watch. Tannon, how do you feel about tournament formats like this that kind of deviate a little bit from standard Conquest with all cards, and you find the best deck and you just kind of try to go a little bit for like the amaze balls factor? What do you think?
Well, you got to know that I'm a big fan of it. If you know the format that we have at HPL, there's no restrictions in any way put on the player. They're allowed to play whatever they want at any time. And I've always liked formats that are fun like that. They're like, you can play whatever you want within this. Like, it has to target, or what was the last one? They had to be odd numbered cards, I think was one of them. It would be like odd numbered casting.
It was like odd number cards with even attack or something. Like the first one was. It was insane.
It really showcases like not only the intelligence of the players, but just how creative they are. Like players, like when someone like Kibler or Nyria, or these guys that are just to name a few that are in this tournament, I'm never surprised when they do well, because these are the kind of guys I expect to be in these tournaments. I want to watch play in these tournaments, and I expect to win. So,
yeah, it was really exciting too. Forsen actually took the W this time, so he's been doing great, and he actually just won the Geico Brawl, which they had a really cheesy rule. I didn't like their rule, but the rule was kind of the rule of 15. Because 15% could save you 15% or more, or 15 minutes could save you. So the rule was you had to have a factor of 15 twice on a card. So it had to have 1, 3, 5, or 15 on the card twice. So it could be 1 mana, 5 health, or like 3 mana, 3 health, whatever. As long as it's
I would
1,
need a
3,
calculator.
right?
Like,
It was
too much math.
It was complex, but
It'd be like playing Grim Patron.
I mean, yeah, essentially, you get you need 2 calculators. You need one for your patrons and one for your berserkers.
Right.
Those are the best games to cast, by the way. The Grim Patron mirrors and try to figure out who's dead. It's a lot of fun.
Flip a coin. Yep,
Oh, yeah.
maybe. I started actually working out on a spreadsheet for patron math, so I'm really excited. So eventually,
I'm gonna bring a calculator up to the desk with me and start doing it that way.
There you go. You should have like a watch with like
that's
a
a good idea,
calculator
actually.
watch, and just be like
The old school one
Yes.
from like 1990. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it was awesome time to watch. Forsen's been doing great. Good to see him really mature as a player rather than just kind of a streamer. bad boy anti-hero kind of thing into like this, he's really great. And honestly, we were talking about it over on Golden Wisp a little bit. He is actually a really good commentator.
Yeah.
He actually really understands. It was when he was talking about Freeze Mage, did an awesome job. Like, still one of the best times I've seen Freeze Mage commentated like that from like a player's perspective. It was really great. Yeah. So, and then we also had the Asus Republic of Gamers Summer 2015 tournament for Hearthstone. This was kind of cool. It kind of snuck under the radar, but had names like Life Coach, Tice, RDU, Show, Nyria. Kind of had a couple group stages to go from 32 to 16 down to 8. And yeah, so in round of 8, we had Life Coach, Ostkaka, and Tice all in there. So some big names, but actually Tom 60229. I believe he's a I believe he's a Chinese player, if I'm not mistaken. Now I need to double check.
Yeah, he's Asian Pacific of some. Yeah.
Is that like
See,
his
Powder
zip code?
Powder was in there too. He's got a pretty big name in the game as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was actually with Tom 60229 in the grand finals. So he's from Taiwan. Sorry, not China, Taiwan. So
Is that number his zip code?
He's from Taiwan. I don't know if they have zip codes. Do they have like 5-digit zip codes?
His country code.
Our ignorance is blossoming right now. So that's great. But yeah, it was some good Hearthstone was played overall. But the really cool one I want to talk about a little bit this week was NA versus China. Jerry, you want to give us a quick breakdown of that one?
Sure, even though I don't know too much about it other than I think it was a year or two ago, I tried to qualify for it, and I got in I think I was a round away from actually getting to qualify for it. But basically it was 3 rounds, and the way that I understood it is they kind of like upped the money each round. Like it went from 16,000, 32,000, 48,000. And it was some US players that I think had to qualify for it. Versus some China players that qualified for it. And the U.S. players were, some of them were Firebat, Dog, Death Star, who I actually met at the Kansas City Fireside Gathering here a couple weeks ago, Teray, and I don't know that last name, VLPS. That's actually a name I haven't heard of before in the scene.
I haven't heard that one either.
Yeah, I haven't heard of this guy either, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But other than that team is pretty stacked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the team format was basically when a player loses a game, the next player from that team must play, and then the winner continues on. So it's basically, is that pretty similar to the ATLC?
No, ATLC is definitely more complex in the sense where each player brings two decks. The decks are kind of randomly chosen, essentially, and faced off against. And then if you win, that deck is cleared. If you lose, it still stays, and you have to win. Basically, either way, you have to kind of win with all those decks. But in this format, you can start, Firebat can start and go 3-0, and none of the other players have to play. You'll have to play 3 of the different, Chinese players. So it's kind of weird like that. So it's definitely different than how, ATLC runs, but still, taking advantage of like the team dynamic. If you lose your team, it's up to your teammate then to win. And then they're all, I believe, they were best of 9, right? So first to 5 wins. So each round was. So China won round 1, so they won $16,000. And then the Americas won round 2 for $32,000 and round 3 for $48,000. So pretty great. And Dog, who is in HPL, correct?
Yeah, he is in HPL. We actually had another player qualify for this in Muzzy, but he was unable to attend, unfortunately for him.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, he took out 3 players on his own for round 3. So Team America taking home 80,000 bones. So feels pretty great to be an American on this.
I actually have a pretty funny story about Death Star. Like when I first saw this, I was like, "Wait, isn't that the guy that was at the Kansas City Fireside Gathering, because I know that there's some people talking about him there, and I didn't know who he was. And then I come to find out, oh, he's playing in this tournament now, and I had met him a couple weeks ago. And I remember a conversation I had with him at the Fireside Gathering, because he came up to me. He was like kind of impressed with how I was doing in the tournament, so he was kind of talking to me a little bit. And he's like, "So what's your highest rank in Hearthstone?" And I go, "Well, I think I topped out about rank 2 or 3 or so." And he's like, "Oh, you mean 2 or 3 legend?" I'm like, "No, rank 2 or 3." And then he's like, "Oh," and then I'm like, "I just don't have," and then he turned around and walked away. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm not that good.
I don't talk to non-legend players myself.
Why are we having this show? I don't even know what's going on here.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a hologram.
I'll be fair though, that he was kind of whisked away to the desk because he had won something and he was going to get his prize. But it was just in that middle of the conversation where he just turns around and walks away like that. I'm just like, oh. I'm not good at Hearthstone. I'm sorry.
And for people who don't recognize that name, everything I've heard about this guy is that he's an unbelievable player. That he was, one of the people that was kind of behind Firebat's rise to stardom over the last year. Kind of like in the same vein as Purple. It was. So we should maybe be hearing more from this guy in the next year.
Yeah. No, he was a really good player. Definitely. I wasn't trying to be mean to him or anything.
Oh no, you weren't. You weren't. It was actually funny.
Yeah, but I mean, I know that he's made some of the popular decks out there. I think he was one of the big guys that kind of pushed mid-range Hunter there for a bit. He was one of the deck constructs for that. So he's put out some pretty good stuff. So
I mean, all I've heard is great things. Everything he posts, I've seen him. He's the same username on Reddit, and he's posted some great insights and stuff like that. So he's definitely an incredible player. But what makes an incredible player is the way that they know and understand this next piece. It's the meta. So that's right. Segue. Does Tannon Grace give it a thumbs up?
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good one. Yes.
Oh yeah.
All right. I can make it someday. Someday I'll make it. So we've got the meta this week, and we're actually adding a third meta report. So as you guys know, we run the Tempo Storm meta snapshot. We run the Liquid Hearth power rankings. But our good friends at Fade to Karma have actually started doing their own meta snapshot, essentially. And it's actually really good and really well done. So we really want to take down as much information as we can from these 3 meta reports, because understanding the meta is really important into understanding the decks you're playing and why and what to expect and tech and things like that. So let's go ahead first and let's actually talk a little bit more about the Fade to Karma meta report. So JR, have you kind of seen how they've broken this down on their website?
Yeah, no, I really dig it, because the way they kind of broke it down is they've taken what the top classes are, and then they've taken the archetypes of those classes and ranked them within. So if you want to see like where the top tier classes are, like they have Warrior is number 1, Hunter is number 2, Warlock is number 3, and Paladin is number 4. And those are the top tier decks, or the top tier classes. And then from those, like Grim Patron Warrior is a top tier deck. Mid-range Hunter is a top tier deck. Hybrid Hunter is top tier. Zulok and the Aggro Paladin. So I really dig the way that they did this. It was kind of cool to kind of see at a high level where the classes rank, and then kind of get down to why they are where they're at. Yeah,
totally. Tannon, what do you think? Have you kind of spent some time with this meta report at all yet?
Yeah, I've seen them all. I interact with them probably a little bit less than you guys do, but any extra Hearthstone information out there is great. So the more organizations that do this, that's just awesome for players to have more of a knowledge base to help grow the game. And all this stuff seems really well done and really well thought out. And it's not just someone's one person's opinion. Like all this stuff seems just huge analysis done behind all this. So I love it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of it. I appreciate it because it's not so linear. Like when you're trying to, compare 25 different decks, it's not really as simple as number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, especially once you get down to like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 6 through like 15, like all are kind of, it's like I don't even know how you compare them because they're all just counters to the other ones, and it's kind of insane. So I really like the approach of, let's rate the class and then rate the archetype within the class. And it seems to, really work out well for them. Obviously, the Fade to Karma guys are really great players. And so with that, yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. Fade to Karma, basically Warrior, Hunter, Warlock, top 3, which is pretty consistent across the game at this point. No one's really arguing that point. And then Patron Warrior, Mid-Range Hunter, Hybrid Hunter, Zoolock, and Aggro Paladin are their top tier decks. Any of those that you guys are in really disagreement with? Any of those that you would add to that top tier? That's a no. That's a yes, maybe. I don't know.
No, I'm in complete agreement with it. That's what we see the most of. I'm a big fan of the Aggro Paladin deck myself, but it's because I only have a certain amount of time to play and can get into most games with that deck.
Absolutely. The only thing I might argue a little bit is I think Handlock is better than Zoolock.
Yeah, I think those are very interchangeable. All the different flavors of Control Warlock, whatever lock version you want to have. I think it has to do with how good the player is with it, how understanding they are of their deck versus everyone else's. Because you can take a tier 2 deck, and if you just play it really well against all the other decks, you can make it a tier 1 deck in that sense. But I agree with you. Just the hardcore Handlock, just the one that's been worked on since day one, that deck is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's also good versus a lot of the other top decks. So
right.
Totally.
Right.
I completely agree with you guys. That's kind of what I would do as well. So, again, huge shout out to the Fade to Karma guys. I think they've done an awesome job here and a real competitor for, kind of where to go to get your digestible Hearthstone information on a weekly basis. Now, Tempo Storm also has their new meta snapshot out, and it actually got a huge redesign too, so we're kind of trying to sift through it. But let's go ahead and break it down. Tannon, have you kind of gotten a chance to look at this yet? Can you kind of give us the high-level overview, I guess I would say?
Yeah, I've gotten a chance to look at it. I'm like most people, I fear change immediately. Like when you see something, you're like, what happened here? This is different. I find it a little intimidating at first, the new graph they have. Other than that, I find theirs to be some of the most well thought out of, rankings of decks and explanations. Plus, they don't just give you always, just a deck list along with it. They give you a deck list with, variations of the deck list. Like if you play a lot of control decks, try it this way. If you play against a lot of aggressive decks, play it this way. So I'm actually a big fan of what Tempo Storm does here.
Yeah, I definitely am too. I mean, this the graph that they kind of have is now they've broken up their graph rather than having like a giant cross-sectional spreadsheet. They have a graph and they break it up into kind of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. So you can see kind of how all the different decks move against each other. Tannon, back to what you're kind of saying about the players that they have. The players are insane. Have either of you guys heard of Amnesia?
I've heard of him.
So Amnesia is a 14-year-old three sport athlete who is probably the best druid player in the world. Got to number 1 legend NA with a deck with Hogger in it. So dude is insane. Chance, I believe last time I checked, he was still with GGLA. Hyped, Impact, Just Saying, Tom Fleur, like so many insane people who go, and they kind of, in the top of the article, they talk about how they come about their rankings. And in this case, they get into a Skype call and basically fight about it, which is kind of awesome when you think about it. So,
I think you're going to see a lot of great. Sorry to cut you off. I think you're going to see a lot of great stuff from these guys and the site going forward too. They just picked up Caldi, I believe, Tempo Storm did, and I think he's going to be Hearthstone managing for them, and that's a great move by them. That guy has got an amazing mind for the game.
An analyst, right? So he's coming in as an analyst. He's going to also be playing because he's in
pretty
HPL. Good. Yeah, I mean he's good enough to be a top tier player, but I guess where he really feels comfortable and really feels like his chops are in the kind of, assessing talent and, dissecting the meta and decks and things like that. So best of luck to him over at Tempo Storm. Up on the screen, though, I wanted to kind of break down a little bit what they're doing now, which I really like. Once you dig down into this, you actually, right now we're looking at Grim Patron Warrior. It goes through a deck explanation and like a weekly note. And then you can kind of see the ranking, what its current ranking, the ranking last week, and the change. Then you see the matchups. Now, the cool thing about the matchups is it's actually like a bar graph. So from 0 to 100 and like the average percent win rate you should get with this deck against other decks. And so it kind of lets you see overall what to expect from a win rate, and then gives you kind of in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see tech decisions versus aggro and versus control. And this is consistent all throughout so that you can really take control of your deck and really fine tune it to the meta. If you're seeing a lot of different decks that, that you're seeing, you can kind of look and see all in one swoop, the different matchups that you have. So going into it though, tier 1, we have Grim Patron, Aggro Paladin, Oil Rogue, Midrange Hunter, and Midrange Druid. Is that exactly? They didn't have Oil Rogue in Fade to Karma, did they?
Yeah,
No.
I'm not the biggest fan of Oil Rogue at the moment. I think it's not in a very good place.
They did have Oil Rogue in tier 1. So they did.
Oh, they did?
No,
Okay,
no, they
yeah.
didn't. No, sorry, they didn't.
No.
It was tier 2. But it's the best rogue archetype, which makes sense because it's the only rogue archetype. So Oil Rogue is kind of the one difference there. So not a big fan of Oil Rogue in that one, Tannon?
Not at all right now. Doesn't have an amazing matchup against Patron, and then I actively want this matchup when I'm playing like the aggro paladin deck, and then it still is, it's still not a favorite against the aggressive draws from Hunter. So right there, you're not doing very well against a lot of the top decks on the ladder. And then you look at Druid, if you consider it a top range deck as well, that's 50-50 at best if you're an amazing, and I mean an amazing rogue player. Like Purple thinks it's like a 50-50 matchup or a little bit favored in rogue, and he might be one of the best in the world.
Totally. Would you put... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so Aggro Paladin, they have as number 2, which is a huge leap from previous. Like, Aggro Paladin, I think this is the first time I've seen it as a tier 1 deck. It's jumped up really huge in the last couple weeks. What do you guys think that makes Aggro Paladin so much more successful than another aggro deck like Face Hunter?
One word: resiliency. So it fights if you have to fight for the board, because there's versions of it that fight for the board better, and then there's versions that are strictly face paladin. You have a lot of divine shield and ways to give divine shield, so you can fight for the board a lot better. And then, have you ever played Divine Favor against a Warlock opponent before? It's the best feeling in the world.
Feeling in the world.
It's like that card. I actually said it on our show a few weeks ago. I was like, I think this card is in an amazing spot in the metagame right now, and it's kind of coming back a tiny bit because things shift and move. But at the time, there was a lot of Warlock decks going around. They were getting very good, and there's a lot of Patron, and every one of their cards early in the game replaced themselves. So when you can spend 3 mana to draw 5 or 6 cards, it almost doesn't matter where you are in the game anymore. If you haven't lost that point, you're not going to.
Totally.
Right. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is with Face Hunter, it's all about going to the face. It's not about board control. It's about killing your opponent as fast as you can. With Aggro Paladin, you've got a lot more... you're doing a lot more board control while also getting your dudes out there and then getting the mass amounts of damage from that and the mass amounts of card draw with Divine Favor.
Yeah,
and you don't get that with Face Hunter at all.
You have to be able to replenish your hand too. I mean, this deck has so many 1 and 2 drops that are a little lower in power overall, but I mean, it's the deck as a whole that's powerful. If you take all of its cards in a vacuum, you're looking at a lot of B+ cards and B- cards. But once you put all of them together, they're just so good. And then drawing 5 cards for 3 mana is not fair.
Yeah, it's been really cool. I actually sat down last season and played a little bit with Vanquisher, doing some aggro paladin. He's a very good aggro paladin player, and kind of said like this: control the board for 4 turns, and then go face. Like deal with taunt if you need to, any like major threats, but then you just kind of go face. Where mid range, Hunter, which is also very good, they tend to kind of wait till like turn 5, 6, 7 once you get like low theb, high main out. And now it's like your opponent's turn to try to deal with the board type thing. This aggro paladin can do that, but is able to do it sooner, right? The time kind of goes a little bit sooner, which I thought was really interesting. It was a really fun way to play too, and it's a fun deck. Like it just feels good to play, unless you lose. It feels really bad to lose playing as an aggro paladin, and your opponent makes sure you know it.
Well, I mean, it just feels so good to me and so flexible in so many matchups because a lot of your cards do the same things in different matchups, but in like aggro and aggro matchups, they're forced to commit to the board to keep up with you, and then you have consecration in your deck, so you get to punish them. And then in the control matchup, they try to 1-for-1 you if they can, and then you just divine favor them. So as long as you don't draw the wrong cards in the wrong matchup, like it feels pretty bad to have divine favor in your hand against a face hunter. Like let's be real, but. As long as you don't draw the cards like that in your bad matchups, you've got to be a favorite in almost all of them, or at least 50-50, because you just have draws that aren't beatable. Plus, I mean, this deck beats every bad draw in the format. If your opponent's draw is a little off curve, they're going to lose.
Definitely. Yeah, they definitely need to have the right answers at the right time, for sure. I really like aggro paladin as number 2. I guess that's the answer to your question, right? Yes, I like it.
Yes, for sure.
I think it's a very good one. So, cool.
It just surprised me to see an aggro deck in the top tier now because we've seen aggro decks pretty absent from the top tier decks for a few weeks now. So,
yeah, that's a really good point. And then, of course, as always, we've got Liquid Hearth. Liquid Hearth hasn't really updated since last week. Really, it's about 6 days old, so we're gonna just kind of skim past it. But rating aggro paladin and mech shaman both much higher. And showing up a lot higher on the ladder. And everything else has kind of just stayed the same. Warrior, Hunter, Warlock dominate the top 3.
Yep, so, and they have aggro paladin way down as compared to the others.
Right.
Not a fan of Mech Shaman ever. Just not a fan of the class at all. I don't think the deck's very good. I mean, I understand
Kevin would have talks.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's a big fan of it. It's obviously fine at some times. I'm also probably biased because I think the deck is like 1-9 on our show, and people just continue to queue it. It just cannot win. And I actually played a game against it today, and a guy turned 1 to Whirling Zap-O-Matic, and then 18 me with it next turn, and then like played a 1 drop in the turn, and I still won this game. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, was it? I know it was Firebat who was playing it. I can't remember where it was. It might have been like a Seat Story Cup or something.
Yeah,
where
it's
he
against
won.
Sivka.
Yeah, it was turn 4, turn 5.
I think he turned 3'd him because he Sivka drew 2 cards with life tap, and then he just like killed him.
Yeah, he had like double rock biter stuff.
Yeah.
I think he had both Zap-O-Matics, double rock biter, like just insane stuff. So it's really cool what it's capable of.
Absolutely.
Definitely like a ladder deck versus like a tournament deck. It really feels like to me, when it's hot, it's hot. When it's not, it's not. And it feels really inconsistent, but really fun to play.
It feels like it's very, very dependent on your beginning draw. And if you don't have that, you're done.
Yeah, I was about to say it's the ultimate high variance deck for sure because there's no recovery with this deck. Like if you're losing, you've lost. Like you can't draw divine favor when you're behind or something.
There's no makeup mechanics, no board clear, no anything. You control the pace of the game from beginning to end, or you lose.
Yep.
So, I get it, but it's still doing pretty strong. It has some favorable matchups, so on paper it should do quite well. And in ladder, I think it does. But Tannon, I think you nailed it. Really do. That it's just kind of inconsistent, kind of weak, and there's no way to really make up or. If you're behind, you stay there. So, yeah. So, what are you guys going to be running this next week on ladder then? So, fresh season. We're going to get probably a good couple weeks out of the season here before everything changes and descends into chaos. So, Tannon, what are you going to be running this month?
Well, obviously, I'm going to be running some aggro paladin. I had a lot of nice things to say about the deck, but A little differently lately. I've been playing some priest decks. Freeze Priest. I've been playing it since Firebat debuted it a few weeks ago, but yeah, laugh all you want. Zalay streamed with it for 8 hours yesterday. I was actually
Saw that.
at his house, with during the stream, and the deck's actually really good. The surprise factor is going away a little bit. People don't know they're going to die to a Mind Blast, which is the worst feeling in all of Hearthstone. And then I have this kind of like techie priest deck. If you follow any of the Archon players, you can find it on Archon Orange's Twitter page. He did really well with it at the end of the season. I'll post it to my Twitter after this, but it's got some interesting card choices. Like you have Shinjin Sealed Master, not Sludge Belcher, because 1 mana is a lot. Playing on turn 4, and you have I have one Acidic Swamp Ooze, one Harrison Jones, all these one Keys and Mystic, and it's just so good when you get them in the right matchups, and you just draw so many cards that you can really get people, but be prepared for slow games. You get to turn 12 and turn 15 a lot, so it's not. I don't think it's the best deck to power rank up with, but once you get to the spots where you're having a harder time or you're playing against a ton of aggro decks, it just you can't lose to Hunter pretty much.
Yeah, normally I would play aggro to start out with, and just try to hit because when you kind of start out with wanting to rank up, you don't want to play necessarily your best matches, because what you're doing is you're playing for those bonus wins, right? Trying to get 3 in a row, get those bonus stars. So if you just play some fast decks and just try to get some wins out and then get that rolling, you can rank up a lot faster. So normally I would play aggro to get up there, and then once you hit rank 5, start playing your matchups a little bit better, maybe even rank 10 sometimes. But I think this month, with knowing that the end of the month is going to be weird with the new set, I think I'm just going to play I'm going to play a little bit of aggro paladin, because I still want to learn that deck a little bit better. I'm also going to play Demon Handlock because I think it's a really fun deck. So,
yeah, it's doing pretty well too. So, I definitely like Handlock. I thought about running again this season, but I played so much of it back before its second coming here this time, about probably 8-9 months ago, when it was really huge. Yeah, so that's kind of. Go ahead.
I just personally enjoy getting the Void Callers out there, and then Mal'Ganis comes out and I'm a turtle. That's my favorite thing.
That's fair. Who wouldn't love that? If you don't love that.
I used to like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so being a turtle is pretty cool.
Well,
still do.
Come on.
Yeah.
You like the Megan Fox one?
No, I like the old school Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon back in the day.
Yeah, me too.
When I was a lot younger, and not as the same now.
I like the original one better as well, but I will be going to see the second one because Stephen Amell is going to be in it. And I'm a big fan of that guy. He's Arrow on the Arrow TV show. I'm a huge nerd. I love all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
he's Casey Jones.
Great. Oh no way! I did not know that. Now I might have to actually see it. So next up on Well Met Movie Podcast, we have. Just kidding. So I actually am going to be running. The same thing, probably some aggro paladin, and then maybe switch over to mid-range hunter if I'm having some issues. So keep it simple.
One more thing I wanted to add. I have been playing a decent bit of Zoo lately as well. I think that deck's actually really good. It's really resilient.
Zoo's good. All the positioning and stuff stresses me out.
Yeah, you have to. It's not like aggro paladin where you can kind of just play your turn and then tab over to something else. You have to be paying a lot of attention during your games.
Yeah, the positioning is the part where it's I could not understand it. I could not get it. So good luck to you, sir, but you'll never find me near Zoo. Maybe ever for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that hero power of that deck though it's so unbelievable.
It's so true. So true. So yeah. Well, guys, I think it's time. Let's jump into a little bit more of the grand tournament stuff. Obviously, huge news coming this week. And as always, like we said before, every other podcast and streamer is talking about every single card in the game. So if you guys want to get your fill of every single card in 2 minutes or less, you've got a lot of information out there. We're going to break down just a few cards today to go ahead and do it. Before we do, we want to revisit Inspire a little bit because we didn't really get to talk a whole lot about Inspire last week, and obviously it's a huge, huge thing for Hearthstone. It's the first kind of new keyword they've added since release, and so we want to make sure that we give it its due diligence. So let's go ahead and just break it up for those who don't know what Inspire is. Inspire is essentially when you use your hero power, this happens, is essentially the best way I can think about putting into easy to understand words. Do you think anything you guys change about that definition or?
It
Sounds good.
All
pretty
right.
much. Yep.
I just wanted to get one agreement in on this show. So I just feel great. We all agree. So that
Well, you
feels
don't have
awesome.
Kevin here to disagree with you, so
It's like, well, actually, yes. So, how do you guys like Inspire though? As a mechanic, as Hearthstone, we know it. Like, what do you? How do you guys feel now that we've had about 2 weeks to kind of let it sink in? I know we were a little bit cold on it last week. Are you starting to warm to it at all?
I will say I was pretty excited about Inspire when they first announced it because I thought it could do some really cool stuff. But I believe that the cards that they have shown so far, I've been fairly underwhelmed with it because I don't know. It just feels like a lot of this stuff isn't going to affect you until late game. And then, so you're holding on to like a 3-mana card, but you don't want to play it until turn 5 so that you can pop off your Inspire because you know if you put it out there, you're not going to get the benefit because they'll probably kill it before it becomes your turn again. That's my thing that I don't really care for it right now. But I'm curious to see what cards are still coming out before I fully say, not a big fan.
What about you, Tannon? What do you think?
I completely agree with JR. We kind of talked about this before the show started that we both are kind of lukewarm on Inspire. There are a few positive things. I do like the fact that it's a new mechanic for the game. It's like the first new keyword really since the game came out, which is great. It's showing you design space that they can move into further, which is awesome. I think the game really needed some form of a change. It had become a tiny bit stale over the last few months. So anything moving forward that way is great. I think this is something that my initial thoughts on it. Not a fan. I don't think it's very good because all the cards you pretty much have to tack on 2 extra mana to them to make them good. But with that being said, it's kind of like I'm gonna touch on what JR said here. They're just gonna kill it. It will make people play differently against you. So you're gonna see subtle changes in the game. Like when you play the 3/3, that's you Inspire make a 1/1. They're going to trade in situations or attack in situations where they wouldn't in other situations. They would just go to your face immediately and then make you trade. But now they have to deal with your guy because you can Inspire next turn. So it's going to change the game up a little bit that way. Also, anything that rewards you for playing the game is always good. So, you're going to hero power anyway, right? At some point in time in the game, we have to use our hero power. You're going to have 2 mana left over, or it's just going to be the right play. And anything that rewards you for doing that, people are going to be excited about that. They're going to like those cards. They're going to enjoy the fact that, hey, I played this 2/3 on turn 2, and then I still got some value from it on turn 5, even though it's now outclassed on the board. It just still happens to be there. So
wow.
Also, it's going to be sweet for Arena.
Yeah, that's true. It definitely looks great for Arena. I think one thing that I kind of came to the realization about Inspire this last week is right now with the game, you play cards with immediate impact. Like that's the rule of the game, right? Find the cards that have immediate impact, that they have to be dealt with, they benefit you in some way, and play those cards because those cards are the best. Instead, with Inspire, it's kind of like play cards that are going to be fine now, and let it pay off. Make your opponent deal with it, or it's going to pay off. And I think it's to your point, Tannon, it's going to make people play differently. It's going to make people attack differently, control the board differently. We all know that totems are kill on sight now in Shaman with all these different new, cards. And I think it's really exciting. I don't think we fully understand like the implications until we start to see these decks come into fruition. Because it feels slow. It feels, kind of like uninspiring is the word. It's kind of like as ironic as that is. And so I think that we're going to really see some exciting new things with it.
I mean, we haven't even seen a quarter of the cards yet either, though.
Right.
So, but there's like, out of all of the Inspire cards, I feel like there's 2 that have potential at being pretty good, and one of them's that Shaman card, the Thunder Bluff variant.
Okay.
For 5 mana, it's a 3/6. With Inspire, give your totems +2 attack. Well, you pop off your hero power on, so you drop this turn 7, play your hero power, bam, you have a totem as well that now has +2 attack, along with your other totems you may already have out.
Right. And it stacks, right? So
Right,
it
stacks. So you just make your totems bigger and bigger, and that's going to be a pretty big card, I think, that some shamans will use if they try to use totems more. I think the other one is a Druid class card, which is the new one that they just revealed, the Savage Combatant, which is 4 mana. It's a 5/4 with Inspire of give your hero +2 attack this turn.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see that one.
Me too.
Yeah. Because basically you get a 3 attack hero plus your additional armor. You're basically sort of almost a true silver champion at that point.
Totally. Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what the players do with Inspire, because it comes out only a few weeks before our top 8. So our entire season is this form of Hearthstone, but our top 8 is Inspire legal. It's Grand Tournament legal Hearthstone. So I'm
curious how that was going to work.
Yeah, so it's going to be, all the new cards are going to be legal. I'm hoping there's no other big tournament before them. I'm hoping we're the first big one, because I just want to see the chaos happen. I want to see someone just break it. They just have this deck and they just like 8-0 through the final. I just want to see it happen so bad.
Absolutely. Yeah. Gosh, I'm excited about Inspire. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of the other cards with Inspire, I like it. They don't inspire me that much. Those two kind of do, but the other ones I'm kind of on. Yeah. But we'll see how it goes.
I love your point, though. I mean, we've seen, maybe a quarter of the cards. I don't know exactly how many have been revealed yet. So, I mean, there's a lot of room for this. Plus, we're going to see more Inspire. Yeah.
Yeah, we're up to 39 cards of the 132 that have been revealed.
It's hard to judge. I mean, my snap judgment, same as you. Not super inspired, but
yeah. Totally. So, well, let's go ahead and get inspired by some of these new cards, though. So we had some new cards come out this week, and we also had some ones that we just didn't get to cover in week 1. So let's go ahead and touch on these first. First one I wanted to talk about, I think so far this is kind of like one of the cards that intrigues me most, is Effigy. Effigy is a 3-mana rare mage secret that reads, oh my gosh, it's too small. Sorry.
When a friendly minion dies, summon a random minion with the same cost.
There it is. Thank you so much. Sorry.
Fine.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think about this card? Off the top of your head, Tannon, you a fan?
Yeah, I actually think this is one of the better cards they've revealed so far. I actually like this card a lot. One of the main reasons, I think this opens potential for new mage decks in the future, which is great. Like any card that can change the way decks are built, instead of just being inserted into a deck, changing into new decks is great. I think it's actually possibly better. It's a better form of duplicate because, yeah, you get 2 cards out of duplicate, but this one puts it on the board. So you're spending 3 mana. And let's say you just, your 5-drop dies. Let's say you have this and then you play a Sludge Belcher and they kill your Sludge Belcher. You just gained 5 mana from this card because it puts it into play. You don't have to wait on it with duplicate. They don't know it's in your hand and play around for the rest of the game. Also, it might just be a better form of mirror entity in a lot of its matchups as well too. Yeah, I like this card a lot actually.
Totally.
I think you're gonna see it a lot with maybe like a late game mage where you're just playing these really big minions and stuff. I think that's really where it's gonna take off because you have a much smaller pool of the randomness that you're gonna get at that point. Whereas earlier, with if it's a 1 casting cost, 2, 3, 4 casting cost minion, you have a much larger pool of randomness. Once you get to those higher things, it's going to be much, much smaller, and you'll be able to control it a lot more. And that's where I think it's a really cool card.
I think this card I think this card is really cool too because I think it already can slide into a couple of the existing mage decks just as is, which makes it, definitely a beginning of an expansion, a strong, pick and play, right? You can throw that straight into Echoes or Grinder Mage, and it's going to do well. It'll probably arguably do better than the secrets that those decks are already running. So I'm a fan. This is one of my sleeper picks for like super impactful, super annoying, depending on which side of the mage you're on, cards in the set. So big fan of it. Any other things you guys can think of with this card?
Yeah, like, and a lot of people are going to complain about it. Oh, you're at the mercy of RNG with it. The thing is, just build your deck correctly with it. Like, just have 5 drops, 6 drops, 7 drops. Because how many bad ones are there? There's not a lot. And then the other thing I like about it is how often does someone play Secret against you in a mage deck and you just don't know what to do on your turn? Because you're just like, oh man, if it's this is bad, but if it's that one and this is bad, and this just adds another layer to that. Because when you have such a small pool with the secrets, it's very easy to play around all of them. But once you start adding in, like the 5th or 6th playable one, it makes it really hard to deal with. And that's the point of the card, of playing these secrets. So it's actually just better from a play standpoint and just a game standpoint. So I just love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like Mirror Entity is like that a lot, and this card's going to be a lot like it too. Those two especially, because Mirror Entity really messes with how you're going to play the game, because you're like, shoot, that's probably Mirror Entity. I don't want to play this card that I'm going to play, so I'm going to play this lesser card. And then you find out it's not Mirror Entity. So you basically screwed up your turn because of it. And I think this card's going to play up.
You just described my entire laddering experience in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Thanks for making me relive that. I hate mages. I hate playing against mages. Unless it's like mech mage, because I'm like, oh, I know it's Mirror Entity. So,
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about this next one. Silverhand Regent, 3 mana, 3/3 with card text that reads Inspire. Summon a 1/1 Silverhand Recruit. JR, what do you think about this one?
Meh.
Yeah?
I really don't like this card at all.
Okay.
It's one of those things where it's like, oh, cool, I can play it in my Paladin deck and get 2 dudes, which would be great, except I'm probably going to be playing against Grim Patron, and they're going to love me to death if I play this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tannon,
I don't know.
What about you?
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're
Go
meh.
ahead.
Okay, got
Yes.
it. Meh. There's
Meh.
not many more ways you can say meh.
Yes.
Tannon, what about you?
When I first saw it, I got pretty excited. And then I started thinking about it. And the first thing I said, yeah, it's just a bad card against Patron because they'd love it. They're like, oh, you put 2 1/1s, cool. I think it's going to be great for Arena. I mentioned that earlier. But here's the thing that gets me about this card. So it's a 3/3 for 3 mana. We're going to get to these cards later, so I don't want to run it too much. But there are multiple 3/4s for 3 that have come out that are going to probably be in every deck going forward. I mean, these cards are very, very good. And I mean, like, don't even mention Spider Tank. I mean, like, so you're playing this 3/3 for 3 that just doesn't match up well against what anyone else is doing. And then how good is 3/3 that comes with 2 1/1s on turn 5? Because what's the 5 mana 4/4 that puts a 2/2 into play? That brings a Squire. There's like a card just like that. Yeah, that doesn't see play anywhere, and this card's very similar to that one when you add that text on. So you're looking at a 3/3 for 3 that doesn't have a giant impact when you're getting all these good 3/4s for 3 that have huge impacts in the game. So just from a fundamental standpoint, this card just doesn't match up well against other cards that have already been revealed and that are going to be hugely impactful.
Right. I agree. Definitely doesn't trade well. I do, though. I have a theory, and I believe that this theory is going to come into fruition here with the rest of like the 80 cards that we're going to see. Mm-hmm. Just like we saw, or we're seeing with like, I can't even remember what I was going to say, but basically, here's what it is. You ready? I think that we're going to see more cards like the Quartermaster that integrate with Silverhand Recruits for Paladin. I think we're going to see those things, and I think it's going to make this card better. So I'm just calling it right now. You're right, on its face, it almost seems like they're alluding to something that they haven't revealed to us in this set. Because you're right, there's no incentive right now to play that. just a, it's a 3/3 for 3 or a 5/5 for 5, however you want to look at it. So
I will say that this is a card, though, that with Inspire that I would definitely play on turn 3 rather than
Totally.
wait. So it's got that going for it.
I agree.
it doesn't have the huge, like, horrible stat and wait for it to turn, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this last one. Garrison Commander, 2 mana, 2 attack, 3 health, epic. You can use your hero power twice on your turn. Tannon.
I don't want to use my hero power once on my turn. Why would I want to use it twice? Like that's how I feel about this card. Yeah, I mean, the thing I have, it's the same problem I have with Inspire. I mean, you just have to go through hoops to make these cards good. And it's a 2/3 for 2, doesn't match up well against other 2-drops, doesn't match up well against other 3-drops. They're just going to immediately kill it, on turn 2. And also, if like you have this card in your deck and you like play it and they kill it, I feel like you just misbuilt your deck. Like if you don't get something out of it immediately in some way, you're just going through all these hoops to not do a whole bunch. You know what I mean? And so that means when you play this, you need to play it on like turn 6. You know what I mean? You need to be able to hero power twice. So you're going through so much to put a 2/3 and 2 1/1s into play, or a 2/3 and deal 2 damage, or draw 2 cards. Like that's I don't even know if I would play 6 mana, put a 2/3 into play, draw 2 cards, lose 4 life. I don't think I would play that card. And so I just don't think this card's very good. But I'm sure there's a combo deck somewhere that's going to run one of these and just go off with it.
Totally. What about you, JR?
I sort of agree with him. I think I could possibly see this card in some kind of hunter deck with the Justicar True Heart. Because if you play this late game and you have lots of mana, then bam, that's 6 damage to the face that you can do if you have the Justicar True Heart hero power going. So that could be pretty good. That's 6 mana for 6 damage. It's not terrible.
Totally.
It's not terrible at all.
Yeah, but that's one of the few things that I can really think of that would be beneficial hero power wise, and it would be the ones that are doing actual damage to the player. I can't really see it being used in wanting 2 extra dudes in Paladin, or wanting 2 extra totems in Shaman, or something like that.
Totally.
So.
I gotta feel the same way. Like, I was kind of thinking, okay, turn 2, Garrison Commander. Turn 3, Silverhand Knight. Turn 4, double hero power. You just filled up your board. Pretty much dies to swipe and any other AoE. But at the same time, like, if you can keep that going and you're running it, for me, this only works with Inspire, right? With other Inspire cards, where if you can, turn 3, play a powerful Inspire card. Turn 4, like, hero power twice. Like, there's some really cool synergies that could be there. But again, I just don't think that, this has to be theory crafted so thoroughly before we can even, begin to think or know about what could be going on here. But on its face, looks really cool, sounds really powerful. But impractically with the Hearthstone we know, just really doesn't fit in.
Now, the other thing that could do, though, is if you have some Inspire minions, that would be, double Inspire. Could do some cool things. But
I think that's what they were going for with this card.
Yeah.
The fact that they made it epic, I think, means that they do have intentions for this card beyond just being able to tap twice in a turn or double Fire Blast or whatever. Like, yeah.
It does bode well for the card that's an epic. That means they think it's relevant. So
Totally. Well, let's go on to the next 3 here. We got 3 more to hammer out, and I actually think while we were recording this, they actually just came out with a new Rogue card, so
Yep.
we might actually try to highlight that as well. First thoughts, where we can't cheat, like write down our notes on what we.
yeah, I have
say.
notes on all these. That's not fair.
So, Savage Combatant, 4 mana, rare Druid Beast, 5 attack, 4 health. Reads: Inspire, give your hero +2 attack this turn. JR, thoughts?
yeah, no, I talked about this a little bit ago, and I think it's really good. It's one of the best Inspire cards we've seen so far.
Totally.
And the reason why is it gives you 3 attack, and plus your 1 health. It almost makes you a mini True Silver Champion in a way. Being able to dish out 3 damage with your hero while taking 1 less damage from whatever you're killing is really, really good. Plus getting a 5/4 on the board on turn 4 is pretty sweet too.
Totally. What about you, Tannon?
All right, so I love and hate this card. I think it's a great tempo play. Let's talk about innervating this thing out against anything that it can kill with that hero power. That is a huge play that we're looking at right there. You're actually looking at maybe game winning. I also think it's maybe you can make a different druid deck with this now. You can make kind of like an aggro druid because it is a beast. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this. You get to make Druid of the Fang a 7/7. It's another playable beast in Druid. It's kind of stretching it, but it's possible that we can make some deck with this. It's also really aggressive. Now for the part that makes me kind of meh. It's very bad against aggressive decks. Like I don't see this card having a huge enough impact against them because you might be able to kill one of their guys, but you're spending 4 mana on a 5/4. And it just doesn't seem very good against aggro paladin is what I'm saying. And then the last thing I have against it, it just gets checked by Piloted Shredder. When they just go Piloted Shredder on 4, you're not going to want to play this card. And that is a huge detriment to a card like this. If it can't pass the test of the most ubiquitous 4-drop in the entire game, and it's a 4-drop, then it's almost unplayable.
However, Piloted Shredder is getting a little bit of a nerf with one of the new cards that was revealed today. So.
Yeah, that's what everybody always says, but it's still good.
There's also 2 ones that would be a buff. There's 3 other 2-drops that would be a buff. So, a question from the chat is if you have 2 of the same cards with Inspire, does it stack? In this case, yes, it does. So if you had 2 Savage Combatants on board and then you hit Inspire, you'd be attacking for 5, essentially.
With the epic that we were talking about before, though, I don't think you only get to use your hero power twice. That's why it's worded that way.
Right. Yeah. So yes, it stacks. The thing I really like about this, though, as we were talking, that it does get checked by Shredder. This does check most 5 and 6 drops played in the game right now. So also can trade up while helping control the board and things like that.
Yeah,
so
you could see this on turn 6 instead of turn 4. So
right.
That way you can use its Inspire ability.
Right, or turn 4, and it actually might incentivize you to innervate out a hero power, or something like that, just to handle some aggro and things like that.
Danny makes a good point. If you play it before a Shredder, if they play one after, you do get to check the front half of a Shredder
with your face.
If they have one, but it is 6 mana to do so. So
right, totally. I like that thought process. All right, last 2 cards. Let's get through these. I like Savage Combatant. First one is Fiola Lightbane. Reads, whenever you target this minion with a spell, gain Divine Shield. It's a 3 mana, 3/4 legendary. Awesome card out on this one, or card art. What do you guys think of this one? Actually, you know what? I want to talk about both of these side by side a little bit because there's another one. There's a pair. They came out with these in pairs.
Yeah, they're twins.
The other one is Idis Darkbane. So you got Fiola Lightbane, Idis Darkbane, 3 mana, 3/4, so same stats, but with the card text that reads, whenever you target this minion with a spell, deal 3 damage to a random enemy. So let's start with Fiola Lightbane, the one where you gain Divine Shield. Tannon, like it?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think both these cards are great. I think the other one's insane, but I think this one is good. If you're playing any kind of deck that's fighting for the board, this is the kind of card you want. Can you picture just putting the power word shield on this card, or Mark of the Wild, or cold blooding it? There's all kinds of insane, cold blooding this and 7ing them, and then having a 7/4 of Divine Shield sounds disgusting to me. These cards are going to be very hard to deal with and very annoying to deal with going forward. I think they need to print another answer to a card like this that deals 4 damage somehow. But yeah, I think these are going to be format defining.
What about you, JR?
No, I agree with that, and I think you're going to see it in, like you said, Rogue, Paladin, and I think it's going to be really, really big in Priest because this gives Priest a really couple legitimate 3-drops.
Totally.
That they can use in their decks.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really good in Mage as well. They kind of slot into Mech Mage pretty well, and anything with spare parts. These cards were meant to have spare parts put on them.
Totally. I was even thinking too, there could be some cool stuff with like, even in like mech shaman with like rock biters and other things like that. I think that one compared to priest and mage, I think is the weaker of the classes currently with what we know. But I think both of them are really cool. Feels like Itis Darkbane is more anti-aggro, whereas Fiola Lightbane is more control heavy and based in the sense where, with Itis, if you had, whatever you put on a power word shield on it or whatever, all of a sudden you've got you have 3 damage that just happened to whatever's on your enemy's board. Now it's random, to be fair, so it's not a guarantee, but a good chance. And you get to attack with that minion too, so it really can slow down other players' tempo. So yeah.
Now, I see Lightbane used more with Paladin or Priest or something like that, but I see Darkbane used more with mechs for sure. Because
Definitely.
that, especially with spare parts, because that would be pretty crazy on the damage that you can put out with the Darkbane if you have enough spare parts in your hand.
Right.
I got 2 words for you guys with these cards. Warsong Commander. You can do a lot of fun stuff with Warsong Commander in these cards.
Why did you have to tell everyone? No.
Warsong Commander, like play this guy, Warsong Commander, Enrage, just die. Like you're just dead. Like I don't care what you're doing.
Done and done.
You're probably better off just playing Grim Patron, but still.
Probably. True. That's a great point though. So yeah, let's go ahead and actually we've got a couple of reader emails coming up. We're gonna come back to that card at the end of the show. But is there anything else we want to say on these cards?
Nothing I wanted to say about these, but did we want to talk about the 3 that were revealed today, or do we want to wait?
I was thinking about waiting until after, just because time. But we can do it now. You want to do it now?
I just think they're really compelling cards.
All right, fine. We're doing it.
Talk about
Let's do
them next
it.
week.
Nope,
I don't care.
It's enough. Let's do it. Go ahead. Give us the breakdown, JR, while I get this pulled up.
Yeah, so well, I'm trying to pull them up now too, but the first one that I'm thinking of is the Darnassus Aspirant, which is a 2-mana druid card, 2/3, 2 attack, 3 health, with the battle cry of gain an empty mana crystal, death rattle, destroy a mana crystal. And I think this card is pretty cool, and for druids, because it kind of helps you get ramped up early in the game, which druids kind of want to do anyway. On the flip side of that, like, when I was saying, kind of nerfs Piloted Shredder a little bit, that this is a card I was talking about, because this can definitely pop out of Piloted Shredder. And also, we were talking about Mirror Entity with mages, and this would be the perfect card to drop on a mage when they have Mirror Entity.
Totally would.
I 100% agree with those. I loved his analysis of this card.
Great. I'm glad you love JR's analysis of this card.
Well, anyway, you can go from turn 2 to turn 4 in Druid. I'm all for it. I mean, that's what that class was designed to do.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like a pint-sized summoner with better stats. I think 2/3s are better in Druid than 3/2s. At least in Druid. But yeah, I mean, it's super strong. I love it. I don't know. Even as like a late game play too, it doesn't have really a drawback for dying, because you destroy, you go back down to 9, and then your next turn you go back to 10. So, late game, if you draw it too late, it actually doesn't even really have a downside. So I think it's a super, super strong card.
You only need 9 mana with the Druid anyway.
That's true. That's all you need. Turn 7 too with Thorson. So
yeah.
What was the other one you wanted to talk about? I'm guessing.
So Wrathguard Warlock. Yeah, it's a 2
this
mana.
Card. Jeez, this card.
2 mana, 4 attack, 3 health. It's a demon. Whenever this minion takes damage, also deal that amount to your hero. Also can potentially drop from Piloted Shredder, although I would probably prefer to have this one drop from Piloted Shredder. But a 2 mana 4/3. That is crazy. What do you guys think about this?
Contests every 3 and 4 drop in the game, does it not?
Yeah. I can't wait to flame up into this card.
It does not contest Yeti, but yeah. So what did you say, Tannon?
I can't wait to flame him into like flame up on one. This guy on two. Like I love this card. This card seems great.
It feels like on two, this card is incredible. Maybe the best 2-drop in the game. I worry about late game. Like you draw this late game, like depending on your opponent's board, it could just be a completely dead draw because he has a Dr. Boom or something like that. He clears that minion and you take 7 to the face. So,
but a lot of times Flame Imp is the same way. It can be a dead draw late game if you're getting close to dying and you're like, shoot, I can't take 3 damage right now.
Yeah.
Right.
You're willing to take the downside for the immense upside the card has. I mean, you're the kind of decks you're playing this in. You're hoping not to get to turn 8 most of the time, anyway. So I mean, just this card, it's going to be unbelievable. I think it would be way better as a 3/4 than it is as a 4/3. It's weird to say that, but
Sure.
just still dies to Wrath and those kinds of cards. But still, I mean, this card's
Wrath,
great.
Frostbolt,
Still dies to Fiery War Axe.
Fiery War Axe. There's a lot of two mana spells or weapons that take care of that. You're exactly right.
Yeah, just love anything super aggressive in the game. It creates better formats when aggressive decks are good.
Totally. And then what was this last one?
The last one I just linked to you in the Skype chat because we didn't
do it.
have it on our spoiler list yet.
But
Just go to
I got it.
So it's a neutral card. Looks like no, it's a rogue card. Danny Ray just had the wrong backing on that.
Got it.
But it's a rogue card for 5 mana called Shadowpan Calvary. It's a 3/7, has a combo of gain +3 attack. So basically for 5 mana, if you combo into this, you have a Boulder Fist Ogre. What do you guys think of this card?
That is not too shabby if rogues ever decided to play minions.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if I would play this card or not. I think the card looks explosive and fun to me, but I'm kind of meh on it because it's one of those another ones you got to go through a couple hoops probably to do it. I guess you could like prep into this card or backstab into this card, and that's pretty good. Again, another card that'll probably be very good in Arena. You'll probably see it in some constructed decks, but I'm not sure yet. So, I mean, Oil Rogue seems pretty tight to me, and I don't know if it would want this card. Like Azure Drake might just be better as a 5-drop, but could be wrong.
I just don't know why, if you're not playing Boulder Fist Ogre anyway, why you would play this.
That's a really good argument. I like that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, but I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't fit what we know Rogue to be right now. So Rogue would have to all of a sudden have an incentive to run minions and try to, whatever, mid-range or something like that. Because that really feels like a really good mid-range Rogue card. But those two don't really go together. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool. I think the card art looks awesome.
Yeah.
But it's like a panda on some sort of mount with a lance.
He's jousting,
cool.
man. It's a jousting panda.
Totally.
It's another card that looks awesome in a vacuum, and then you start thinking about it, like actually applying it in practice. You have a hard time finding a spot for it as of right now.
At least it doesn't die to BGH. So
it doesn't die to BGH.
It's got that going for it, I guess.
Definitely. Okay, we got to go into the mail. Let's go into mail.
We've got mail.
And we do have mail. We actually had a lot of mail these last 2 weeks. I mean, we're getting like multiple emails a day. I never expected it. So thanks so much for your emails. We love it. We do our best to collaborate, compound them, and make sure that we get you not only answers to your emails, but we're actually designing a lot of new segments around your guys' emails. We have a lot of questions and people sharing their spreadsheets for stat tracking and things like that. So we want to eventually do something with stat tracking and talk about it on the show. So keep those emails coming. This week we're going to just go through 2, though. And JR, while I go run and fix something, I'm going to have you read this first email. Sound good? Thanks.
Sure. So first email says, hello, John, JR, and Kevin. First off, I want to say that I love the show and really appreciate the viewpoint of the game that you 3 provide. I'm a casual but serious Hearthstone player, so I'm always looking for things that can improve my game, and you guys are one of the few podcasts I listen to regularly that actually provide useful information. So thank you very, very much for all you do. I've been having a terrible time this season, July unranked. I finished last season at 11 and set a goal for myself to break 10, but I've been stuck between ranks 14 to 17 all month. Every time I log in, I seem to go 5 and 5 or 4 and 6 and make no progress. I don't feel like I'm a bad player, but it's become very frustrating to the point where I stopped playing the game for 3 to 4 days. I've tried meta and non-meta decks, tech decks, and decks that are generally consistent for me, and that I know inside and out, but nothing seems to stay consistent enough for me to make any progress. I am the type of person that needs to feel some sense of progression in games I play, or I'll stop playing them. I feel that if this keeps going like this, I'll stop playing Hearthstone altogether. I know that randomness is an integral part of this game, but I can't help but feel a little annoyed when I queue up against 8 golden heroes in one night, and I'm only at rank 15. Any advice on how to get past this hump? Thanks for the help, Adam. So, Tannon, I'm actually going to put you on the spot, even though this wasn't directed to you. What do you think Adam should do to get over the hump of making it past rank 10?
Okay, so I actually have a few things written down that he can do because I love this topic. Number one, play one deck. Just get one deck that you're really good at and just play it a lot. And with that one deck, you don't need to go 10-0. You don't need to go 7-3. Like 6-4 is fine. Just getting a winning record with the deck is great. Figure out its matchups and figure out mulliganing with that deck. That is one of the most important things in Hearthstone that I think a lot of people don't have a good enough grasp on. Is mulliganing is so big in this game. Go ahead, John.
6-4 is 60% win rate. That's insane.
Yeah, it's very good.
You look on paper and it feels bad, but then you actually think that's 60%. In Legend games, I'll find that out while you keep going, but like in Legend games, like if you can go to Legend on a 60% win rate, that's insane.
Yeah, well, I mean, this guy says that, he goes 5-5 or 4-6, so we're looking at a 1 to 2 game improvement, and that's a big drastic change, which it doesn't sound like much. If you start, improving 1 game per 10, I know it doesn't sound like a big number, but it actually is. Now, another thing you can do, I think that when you play this game and you're trying to get better at it, take notes, man. Like, whenever you're losing to something, write how you lost. But you need to be very, very honest with yourself. This is a big problem I see with a lot of gamers is, they always get unlucky in all their losses. It's never their fault when they lose. And it's like, hey, maybe you could have played a turn different, or, hey, I tried this out in this matchup, differently and it's not working. Figure that out. Take notes on what you're losing to, like specifically cards, or if you're always losing to aggressive decks or you're always losing to control decks, and figure it out from there. Am I mostly losing to aggro? Am I mostly losing to control? And play accordingly from there. Like change your deck in ways that you need to, or if you just keep queuing into Hunter and you're not winning, like play a priest deck with a bunch of taunts in it and Wild Pyromancer, and you won't lose. You'll lose some matchups. Yeah, you'll queue into the control warrior guy and be like, all right, I probably can't win, but you're going to win all those other games that you weren't winning beforehand. And as I said, 6-4, that's really good. That's real passable. And you're going to get more wins that way. And so just, you got to take it in a small thing too. It's a lot of baby steps. It's not one giant leap. You know what I mean? All these guys that are pro players, they didn't do it overnight. They put in a ton of time. There's a reason why they have golden portraits. If
JR would have had a 60% win rate, and he said he played about 250 games, he would have been to Legend.
Wow.
So it takes 267 games to go to Legend at a 60% win rate. 147 to get to rank 5, 120 to go from rank 5 to Legend. So that's an incredible win-loss ratio, for sure.
And I think the biggest thing I can tell you as well is just don't get frustrated if you're playing 10 games and you don't feel like those games went your way or whatnot. Just keep playing. Like don't let it get you down, because what's going to happen is you might hit one of those streaks where they are pitting you against better players because you got that whole hidden MMR system. And the reason that system is there is because you're gonna hit win streaks and you're gonna hit losing streaks, and you might just be on, you're just hitting that bigger MMR against better players, and you're just gonna hit that losing streak, and that's gonna happen. But as soon as you get out of that rut, you're going to make a big jump on a winning streak eventually. And that's something that I found out like this season. That's something that happened to me is I would hit a really bad losing streak but I would keep playing through it. And then all of a sudden I would jump up like 3 or 4 ranks. Yeah. That's a very common thing to happen. So don't like get down on yourself, quit playing for 3 to 4 days, play it out a little bit. And you'll might see that you rank up 3 or 4 ranks that night if you just played like 10 more games or something like that.
It's a really good point.
And I might sound a little bit like a bad guy here, but if you're hanging around rank 14 to 17, there's probably a lot that you can be looking at to like improve your play. And I mean that in the sense where, honestly, like I talked about it before, go to reddit.com/r/HS coaching and get someone who's been to Legend before. They're going to be able to teach you in probably an hour, maybe 2, a lot of the things that maybe you're just not seeing correctly. I have found it invaluable to grab someone who's Legend, to look over a couple of my games, spectate, tell me what to be looking for. Because I'm sure you understand your win conditions of your deck if you've been playing as much as you're saying you are and stuff like that. So at that point, it's fundamentally, maybe it's not anticipating your opponent right, or, maybe not knowing your opponent's decks well enough. Getting someone involved as a second set of eyes who you trust, who knows the game, might also really help you to get over that hump, get into single digits. So yeah. Anything else you guys could think of for that answer?
I really like what you said. If you have people around you that you trust and that are better players than you are, that's one of the best things you can do. Like, I'll just sit around and talk of Admirable, like, through games. Like, I'll just watch him play, and we'll just talk through a game and what his thought process is during a turn. Because everyone thinks about the game, specifically in their own way. And not everyone thinks about it the same way. Because there's not always a 100% right way to do things. And
Totally.
Just hearing other people's ideas. Like, when I first started playing Magic and poker professionally, before I did that, I'm sorry. When I first started playing them for fun and then realized I wanted to play them more, I used to go over to a guy's house, and we'd have, like, 6 to 8 guys in the living room. We'd have like 4 or 5 computers all playing whatever game we're playing. And I wouldn't say a word all day long besides the word why. I was like, why did you do that there? And like, why did you do this here? And they would explain it to me, and my head would explode, multiple times a day. Cause I'm just like, oh wow, I didn't even think you could think about the game this way. And it just opens your eyes up to a whole bunch of new different things.
Awesome. Cool. I love that. So thank you so much, Adam, for writing in. I think that's an awesome question.
Great question.
Let's go ahead into number 2. Tannon, you want to take this one?
Yeah, let me pull it up. All right. Give me 2
You're
seconds.
right.
I got
You're
it.
right.
All right. Hi, guys. Thanks for doing the show. I've listened to every episode and haven't enjoyed a podcast this much since my wild days listening to The Instance. I want to bring up the topic of sportsmanship in Hearthstone. I mostly play a mid-range shaman around rank 10 to 8. I have noticed at this level a lot of overkill, meaning my opponents have enough win to go to the face, but what's on the board, but then they want to play more from their hand. To me, this is very poor sportsmanship and almost insecure, as if to say, hey, this game wasn't as close as you thought it was. I can squelch emotes, but you can't deal with this except concede before she gets lethal. This happens in more than 50% of the games that I lose. My questions are, do you see this at lower levels, and do you think this is a problem? Thanks, Barda, BARRDA, hashtag 1949. Yeah.
Totally. All right. So I know you just read it, but Tannon, answer it. Do you know what? Just take over the show. Go ahead and do your thing. JR, we're gonna just go over here. We're gonna go bowling.
We're gonna go bowling. Have fun.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if I can answer it for that long. Okay, so I think sportsmanship in all kinds of sports or esports is one of the number one things you should teach children playing the game. And a lot of these guys may have not been taught that when they were younger. It's a little different when it comes to Hearthstone. You have the anonymity of the computer and the keyboard. You're hiding behind it. As everyone ever says, guys on the internet are way tougher on the internet than they are in real life. So I hate it. I had to gather my thoughts and think about how to put it the right way. I absolutely hate it. I don't like BMing in the game. I will do it a tiny bit to people who do it to me, but it's mostly just like fun picking, back and forth. I will 100% do it to my friends. Like if you watch Admiral and I play a match, oh, I'm gonna get him bad. Like I'm gonna beat him the whole game. But I just think there's no room for it in the game. There's no call for it. And as you said, it does feel, how'd you put it, almost like an insecure, hey, this game wasn't as close as you thought kind of thing. Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. Coming from a Magic and poker background, if you've ever watched any of the coverage, as soon as games are over, one of the very first things that happens is a handshake. And it's almost always the loser that initiates it. Like, there's a big deal about like, hey man, good games, great, good competition. It doesn't matter if the games were bad. I appreciate being able to play. Like there's this saying that comes from those things. I came to game, like you travel to these events, because like me, I've had to travel all over the world for them. And I came there to game. And the last thing I want is some just butthole, like BMing me in real life, in a card game. And I'm like, man, look, we're all here to have fun. We're all here to do the same thing. Just act like you've been there before, show some respect to your opponent, and show some respect to the game. Because that's all it is that's all it is when it comes down to it, is disrespect.
Totally. Wow. Laying it down.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We should have went bowling. No, no, but no, I agree with them. Like you will see this at every level. I've seen it at every level. It's just part of the game. You can't let it get into your head, because as soon as you let it get into your head, you're gonna play your next game poorly, because you're still being bugged about what that player did. Just be happy that they don't have ways to chat in this game, unless after the game, because it would be so much worse. I wish that Blizzard would put in an auto squelch that just lets me check it, so that when I play, I don't. Agree. It's just automatically squelched, and I don't have to deal with it. But as far as like players, just I on the flip side of that, like just today, I had a game where a guy tried to BM me, but he was playing Grim Patron, and he was trying to be all sly, and he missed lethal because of it, and then I won. So
yes.
So there is some redemption that you can have every once in a while on players that do this. Is they get a little too cocky, and then you still win the game.
JR, just so you know, every time that happens, an angel gets their wings.
Yeah, it's a great feeling.
True fact.
One more thing I wanted to say about this. I actually don't hate it at high level play, believe it or not. I think it's actually part of the game. Here's the thing. If you're a professional Hearthstone player, you need to be able to take this stuff. And it's if it bothers you, like if you tell me something like this bothers you in a game and you and I are playing it competitively, I'm going to do it to you. I'm going to needle you.
Advantage.
Yeah, it's an advantage. It's part of the game. Like you have to be mentally strong to play these games professionally. And if you can't take someone saying well played after everything they do, or saying thank you after everything goes their way, like, oh, they rolled 4 on their boom bot for like the 5th time this match, and they just keep saying thank you, like you don't deserve to be at that level.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, like, tournament level, though, like, if tournament level, someone did that to me, I wouldn't be upset about it.
No.
For the exact reason you're saying. On, like, ladder, but also I know the player that I'm playing against.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So it's a different thing. But where it's just some rando on the internet, it gets old and annoying.
Totally.
I 100% agree with you.
I kind of have a rule for myself, and I kind of took this from chess, I believe. If other people play chess, maybe, and I have this wrong, I'm sorry. But it's generally good sportsmanship when you know you've lost to tip your king over, essentially concede. I feel the same way with Hearthstone, number one. If my opponent is showing lethal on board, I actually do just concede. For me personally, I do think that's good sportsmanship because I'm not wasting his time. He's not wasting mine. There also is an aspect of it too, where, believe it or not, my friend came from a professional, like Magic the Gathering background, and he always, whenever he had someone beat, he always played all the cards he could and all the mana he could when he was done. And I was like, "Why are you doing that? Don't do that. That's bad manners." And he was just like, "I'm actually just showing him the cards that we had, because that way he knows then even further, like, the cards that decks like this are running, and hopefully he can get better from it, because clearly he lost this time." Now, usually that's not the intent that we take it with, and so, like, I would never just, assume when a guy plays out all of his cards and is backstabbing his own minions that he's just trying to help make you better, because that feels awful. But, take from it what you can, too. If you're not the type to like concede when you know that you've lost. And again, no, don't assume you've lost when there's not showing lethal or whatever. But when you know he's lost, and he starts playing cards, glean from it what you can, right? If you don't know the deck that he just played, and that's part of why you lost, you now know 3 or 4 more cards than he had before. So there are some things where even those bad things can actually help you become a better player. So take that with a grain of salt, I guess. But that's kind of my idea around it too. Yeah?
Yeah.
Feel good?
It's good stuff.
We cover it?
I think we
I
did.
think so.
All right. Well, we covered it, which means it is time to start calling it here. We've had a long show. We've had a lot to talk about. We were going to do PvP this week, but as you can tell, it was a very long show. So no PvP this week. Coming soon, though, because I really want to get Tannon involved on one of those. So we're going to have to try and set up another show where he can have you come by.
Yeah, we
again,
need to
Tannon.
get PvP live involved with PvP.
It's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Totally. So, as always, you can find us on Twitter at Well Met Podcast. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/BlizzPro. And, of course, our wonderful Patreon at patreon.com/WellMetPodcast. Before we go any further, though, do you guys have any shout-outs this week? Tannon, what about for you? Anyone you want to shout out, hype up?
Yeah, I got a shout out for 3 people. A guy named John, a guy named JR, and a guy named Kevin. Thanks so much for having me on the show. I've had an amazing night.
There.
Anytime you need me, just let me know. Any of y'all, like if JR needs to work on his bowling game and has to miss a show or whatever, let me know, and I'll step in.
Sounds good to
Awesome,
me.
man.
I'm going pro bowling.
How do you
We're gonna
BM
make a
in
bowling. We're gonna make a Blizz Pro bowling podcast.
There we go.
I think you beat him by like turning around and bowling through your legs.
Through your legs after you know
Yeah.
you've won, he can't catch it. All right, that makes sense. Cool.
It's all that training that I had on Wii bowling that makes me good.
That's awesome. Tannon, anything else?
Just thanks, man. I appreciate it. This has been a blast.
Dude, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for being here.
No problem.
Anytime, for real. Anytime. JR, what about you, man?
Well, I got to give a shout out to Tannon for coming on the show because he did a pretty awesome job of filling in for Kevin for sure. We had a lot of really good discussions, so that was pretty cool. And man, I had another one, but now it kind of left my brain and I can't think of it now. I'm just gonna be really busy this week. I'm gonna give a shout out to Danny Ray. We talked about him a little bit. The dude has been. If you go to the Hearthstone site on BlizzPro, the dude's been putting out some pretty good analysis of the PvP Live and some other tournaments, but he's also been really keeping up to date with these new card reveals and getting them posted. Even during this recording, he had just put up the new Rogue card that was just revealed.
Wow.
So he's been doing a great job with the site, and I wanted to give a shout out to him for that.
A great
Totally.
member of the community for sure.
Absolutely. I know he works really close with you guys at PvP Live, too. He's like your number one fan.
Yeah, we're a big fan of his as well.
So that's awesome. As for me, nothing major. Tannon, this has been awesome. Working with you, collaborating with you the last couple weeks on stuff to do for the show. It's been super easy. Super awesome, too, because I'm a huge fan of PvP Live. So a little bit of fanboyism going on, I guess, too. Just a little.
God.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Again, Tannon Grace of PvP Live. You can find him at the Tannon Grace on Twitter. So make sure that you go ahead and give him a follow. As for me, not a whole lot this week. I got about 3 weeks left of summer vacation before I go back again to school full-time, work full-time, other stuff. So it's going to be great. Just relaxing. I'm off tomorrow, too, so I might not even work on the show until tomorrow morning, maybe. Yeah, so just kind of got a crazy week coming up. Going to try to play a lot of Hearthstone. And yeah, so thank you. Thank you to our wonderful moderators in the chat room, Katie Farrah Fowler and Danny Ray helping out as well, making sure all of the links are up to date and stuff like that. You guys are incredible. Our wonderful show music, which Tannon has so graciously let us know how awesome it is done by an awesome dude, Jake Buttonow, up from Canada as well. And he has his own music at jakebuttonow.ca. He makes awesome stuff. If you like our intro and outro, you'll love his stuff. And of course, Dread Scythe of Scythe Designs does awesome work. I let him know yesterday that Tannon was on the show and that I need the updated like stream vectors and stuff, and he had it to me like in no time. So like completely awesome. So
Yeah, that
thank
dude
you.
is a machine as well.
Dude, just a workhorse. Unbelievable. So that's going to about wrap it up for episode number 21. Again, find us on Patreon at Well Met Podcast, Twitter at Well Met Podcast, YouTube on BlizzPro, iTunes, and the Stitcher. We're everywhere, audio, video, and everywhere else. And JR, what's up?
I actually wanted to, one last thing, I wanted to give a thanks to our patrons this month, or this past week. Tom, Torjul, Chad Smith, and JC. You guys are awesome, and thanks so much. And remember, if you this month, if you donate $5 or more, you can get in that drawing for the 1 hour of coaching with Fate to Karma.
Absolutely. And also, we did get some iTunes reviews this last week. From the USA, we got Signor Scotty. From Sweden, Holmdini. And from Germany, Chillon. So, thank you for those difficult to pronounce iTunes reviews. I really appreciate it. But yeah, as far as that goes, guys, I think we are ready to call it a day. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Great.
All right. So until next week, episode 22, same great time, same great place. We are going to call it a night.
You can find John on Twitter at Kicked Tripod and on Twitch at twitch.tv/KickedTripod. You can find JR on Twitter at Eldorian and on Twitch at twitch.tv/BlizzPro. And you can find Kevin on Twitter at Lack of Realism and on Twitch at twitch.tv/OdinTV. BlizzPro.com